Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first and probably only official mock draft. It's April, it's mock draft month, which is actually insane to think how quickly it's come, and I'm just gonna hop right in. There's gonna be trades, there's gonna be a lot of crazy selections, and for anyone who's wondering, the music that's in the background is made by me. Check me out on Spotify, smiley face, it'll be linked in the description. Okay, with that plug aside, starting off, number one overall pick, we of course have quarterback J.J. McCarthy. I'm kidding. Caleb Williams. All jokes aside, if the Bears did draft J.J. McCarthy, bro, I would be out of words. But there isn't much to say about why the Bears drafting Caleb Williams, because he's a can't-miss prospect. They got rid of Justin Fields just so they could draft him. So you kind of have to draft him now. And with the Commanders, it's between two guys, Drake May and Jayden Daniels. Now, Drake May, there's been a lot of concerns with his footwork and his inconsistencies. And Jayden Daniels runs like a goddamn toddler and is very pliable to probable injuries. But with that being said, I think I am going to slightly lean towards Daniels, especially if the Commanders fit. I think Drake May is a slightly better prospect, but I think Daniels fits Washington's a bit better. And now, up next, we have my New England Patriots, and although I could definitely see us taking a quarterback, the more and more that we get closer and closer, I think the Patriots are actually going to be doing a trade down with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, it's going to be a lot more than just 2 first-round picks. Probably a third-round pick, but I am in the mood to try and go through that fucking duel with the fucking simulator. So, here we are. So, they trade up, and they're drafting Drake May. I mean, Josh McCown, he was the high school quarterback coach for Drake May, and they didn't hire him by accident. He's here for a reason, and I think this team's been looking at Drake May for a long time. I think they're going to give an offer New England can't resist. Probably at least 3 first-round picks and maybe some later-round picks. Now, obviously, we'll get to see New England's 2 later picks later. But now, for the Cardinals, this is definitely a trade spot, and you could make a very good argument for it, but I personally believe that this team should just take the best player in the entire draft. Marvin Harrison is an elite prospect, and just overall, he's a can't-miss prospect. He's one of the best receivers of receiving prospects, at least, in probably 2 decades. Him, Jamar Chase, it's hard to just walk away from that level of talent. So I think that they'll take him, and Kyler Murray will not be killing everyone in that organization. Now, the Chargers are in a very interesting spot because, you trade away Keenan Allen, and then you cut Mike Williams, so you basically have a receiving core of McDonald's workers. Well, Quinn Johnson will be there in a couple of years anyways. But all jokes aside, it makes sense to draft a receiver here, but also keep in mind, between Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, this team does not believe in the forward pass. So you definitely could make an argument they drafted an offensive lineman. Brock Bowers, I have drafted them until they traded away Keenan Allen, but I think you got to take the best player on the board. You got to take Malik Neighbors. He's great. He'd be the best receiver in a lot of drafts, but he is, to me, he is 1B. It is insane. Neighbors is still a great prospect, even if he's not going to be going as the first receiver off the board. And now, you got the New Jersey Giants. Giants, they're in a very interesting situation when it comes to the draft, because this team has a lot of problems. They have offensive line issues, they have quarterback issues, they have receiving issues. Basically, everything is a fucking mess up there, except for the defensive line, which is, I'll give it to them, is absolutely insane how good it is. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, if he decides to be good at football. It's awesome, but there's really only one way that I see the Giants can do anything. Although J.J. McCarthy is a very likely pick, I think, hey, you guys are just in an absolute mess with Daniel Jones' contract, so you can't really draft a quarterback right now. And I mean, is drafting the 4th quarterback off the board while you have a quarterback on a $40 million a year contract a good idea? Probably not. So I think they're going to go with Rome Odunze, who's a good weapon for Daniel Jones for this year, and then whoever they get next year. And hey, only doing the first round, but I could definitely see them taking a flyer on someone who falls to the second round, but I ain't going to be spoiling that. Now the Titans, this has been, I think, outside of Caleb Williams, this has been the easiest pick in the entire draft for me. It is Joe Alt. Unless Alt goes earlier to someone like the Chargers or the Giants, which is possible. I mean, if he's there, then the Titans are taking him. Alt is an amazing prospect. And he's just... I don't want to say a perfect prospect, because he's not. But they need offensive line issues if they don't want Will Levis to die. And they brought in Calvin Ridley, so you can't even say they trade back. Or if Odunze was still there because the Giants drafted J.J. McCarthy or something, you need to take Joe Alt. I believe that he is one of the 5 best players in the draft. And if it wasn't... And I mean... I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a team moving up in front of Tennessee to draft them. But I don't think that's going to happen. So now, Atlanta, I mean, this team has, not had a pass rush for the entire time I've watched football. And the secondary has been good, but it's been absolutely hurt by how horrible that pass rush is. I think they're going to say, hey, let's go up and let's get Dallas Turner. He's the best edge rusher, right, that's still available. And yeah, he's the best edge rusher in the draft, Alabama. So he's had to play actual competition. And overall, just an elite prospect. Now, with the Bears have an interesting situation. Because Jared Verse is there, but also, I mean, there isn't really any teams that I see that would want to draft pass rush right away. At least from the spot. So I think the Bears are actually going to be trading back with the Denver Broncos. Now, I think literally everyone knows what this pick is. They are an absolute mess of a franchise right now. Everything is burning to the ground. They have no receivers. They have no quarterback. They basically have nothing. They got rid of Justin Simmons. They don't have a cornerback, too. It's just Patrick Surtain and a lot of scrubs. With that being said, Sean Payton's going to take his guy. Whether McCarthy starts day one or it's Jared Stidham time is still up in the air. With that being said, I mean, just a lot of issues on that team in Denver, and I think you gotta get your quarterback. Because to me, Sean Payton seems like he's the kind of guy who will draft a quarterback as he fixes the issues. But also, there is the argument that they stay put or someone else trades up. But in my opinion, with the way the draft's gone, I think they will go for J.J. McCarthy. So they want to leapfrog the Patriots and get J.J. McCarthy. Now for the New York Jets, there's a lot of different ways you can go. Brock Bowers is just one of the best players in the draft, but obviously he's a tight end. And then you have Olu Fashanu. It's Fashanu or Fashanu, I honestly don't know. So I'm just going to call him Fashanu, but if it is Fashanu, I apologize. And then Talisa Fuaga, who have the Jets been in love with, apparently, but that also could just be a smokescreen. So you bring in Tyron Smith, you bring in all this. But honestly, in my opinion, I think this team's going to say, hey, Tyron Smith's here, but being completely honest, he might not play the whole season. And also, it's only a one-year deal. So I think there's not many times that such a good prospect as Talisa Fuaga falls into your lap. They're absolutely in love with him. Probably, knowing my luck, they're not going to draft him, but I mean, hey, you need offensive tackle because even for the future, and if Jets go right, they're probably not going to have a chance to get such a good prospect. Now you got the Patriots. We literally have every single need fucking possible. I don't know what you guys want me to say. My Patriots are horrible. But, I mean, there's definitely an argument for someone like Brock Bowers, because we still kind of do need a tight end, but Hunter Henry will do fine, I swear. But anyways, but I'm just saying, hey, take Olu and fill up that offensive line because we are a mess right now. I mean, Big Mike's pretty good, but outside of that, offensive line is ass with a capital A. So now you have Chicago, they traded back, and they still get their guy, Jared Verse. It's very simple. Montez Sweat needs a partner in crime, and that's going to be a great duo, and I have fallen in love with Jared Verse. I don't think he has the greatest ceiling, but I think he has a very high floor. Obviously not saying he's bust-proof, because that clip will go on to haunt me for the rest of my life. I would say he's bust-proof. But, like I said, still very good. And now you have the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders, they have a lot of holes to fill. Offensive line, cornerback. And you could definitely make an argument for anyone, but I'm going to go with them drafting corner. And in my opinion, the best corner in this draft is Nate Wiggins. Now, I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I just think he is the most well-rounded corner and just has some crazy big play moments at times. And I really like Clemson cornerbacks. I don't know, but I watched a lot of Clemson. I didn't watch a lot of college football, but I watched a decent amount of Clemson football. My reasoning, I honestly have no fucking idea. I just thought the logo looked really cool, I'll be completely honest. Now you have the Saints. And Saints, this is one of the easiest picks on the draft for me. It is J.C. Latham. Because Ryan Ramczyk got announced he might not be medically cleared to play, which sucks. But also it kind of locks them into a, holy shit, we have to draft an offensive tackle because, one, Trevor Penning's ass, and two, you might not have that only good offensive lineman filled out, so... Trust me, this won't be the only offensive lineman they're taking in the draft. But you've invested so much money in Derek Carr, and you need to protect him, because he got injured a lot last year. And now you got the Colts. I mean, this has been... Brock Bowers is such an interesting prospect for me, because he could go basically as early as 5, in my opinion, to the Chargers. But he falls all the way down to 15, and Colts going to get a weapon for Anthony Richardson, and when Richardson gets hurt, a weapon for Flacco. All jokes aside, Bowers is great. Although he could be a bit better of a blocker. He's basically just a gigantic wide receiver. And it's insane. If tight ends were any more valuable, then he would have been drafted way higher. But unfortunately, tight end just isn't the most valuable position. But I think Colts say, hey, this is one of the best players in the draft. He's definitely the best player left on the board. And they take him. Now the Seahawks, they fired Pete Carroll, or let him go, which was a questionable decision, but in my opinion, I think this means, with the hiring of Mike Macdonald, which I did like a lot, although you could, definitely offensive line is a big problem. You got Trey Fatanu, Marius Mims, JPJ. I think that they're going to say, hey, we're doing this the way the Ravens did, and we're drafting defense, and they're going to take Laiatu Latu here. He's a great player. He had some medical concerns, but they did get cleared up. Next up is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Jaguars, they are in a horrendous situation right now. They have a lot of needs, and you can't argue, hey, wide receiver, get Trevor another weapon. But they did bring in the definition of inconsistent in Gabe Davis. And in my personal opinion, I think that they should say, hey, offense was a problem last year, but at the ending stretch, the defense was just absolutely horrendous outside of the Panthers game. But it was the Panthers. With that being said, I think you take Terrion Arnold. He's the best cornerback on the board, in my opinion, left of at least. So you draft him. And now you have the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals in an interesting situation because there isn't really anyone that they hugely need, but obviously offensive tackle is still a decent need, but they brought in Trent Brown. They brought in Orlando Brown last year. So I think that they are actually going to be trading back with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I think everyone here can probably imagine what the pick for the Eagles are going to be. And it's going to be the best corner on the board right now, and that's Quinyon Mitchell. They need a cornerback. They're absolutely just a mess at that position, so I think they take him. And the Rams, Aaron Donald retired, and the defense is definitely a mess. They lost in the playoff game last year. So you could argue Byron Murphy, Cooper DeJean, even Kool-Aid Man if you want to go that down low. But I personally think we're actually going to go down a little bit, and someone who fits like a glove onto the system is Johnny Newton. He is just a great prospect, and overall I think he's going to do great for that team, and you pair him with all of the young guys that they had last year to get a great core. And now for the Steelers, I mean, last year they got hopefully their tackle of the future, And I say, hey, you dip back into the Georgia pond and you get Amarius Mims. I think he's just overall a great player. And you can never complain about getting someone of his talent this late in the draft. Because I think he's going to be a stud. The tackle class is deep. So now you have the Miami Dolphins and Jackson Powers-Johnson. Like, it is insane. If he wasn't a goddamn center, he would be so much higher up. But centers, unfortunately, just aren't the most important to a lot of teams. But Miami, the offensive line is an absolute mess. It was injured all the time. And hey, give Tua some extra time to underthrow Tyreek Hill. All jokes aside, Tua, I do think Tua is actually good. Please don't kill me, Dolphins fans. I'm kidding, I swear. Okay, with that out of the way, got the Bengals, and they're just taking Troy Fautanu. Although, yes, obviously they did fill up some holes at the offensive line. Trent Brown, take it from a Patriots fan, usually sometimes just doesn't decide that he wants to play football and will just be injured or just bad. So just take an offensive tackle, and Fautanu, in all honesty, could probably play guard. He is an absolute Swiss Army knife of an offensive lineman, and I just love him. Honestly, I could see him going as high as where Fautanu went with the Patriots. But I think my Patriots this year, I mean, there's definitely some intrigue with quarterbacks like Bo Nix and Michael Penix, but, I mean, at that point you should have just stayed at 3. So I think they take Brian Thomas Jr. Get a receiver, because right now our receiving core is an absolute shit show of mid. It is horrible. So now you have the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys, they got a lot of needs. And I think you could definitely argue Tyler Gotton, but Cowboys, they like their skill position players. You got rid of Michael Gallup, and I think you're going to be taking a guy from Texas and Adonai Mitchell. Definitely could argue for Xavier Worthy because of how great of a combine he had, but Mitchell just fits their scheme a lot better. And overall, they need a wide receiver too, and they're going to get one. So now you got the Green Bay Packers. Now, Packers, I think it's simple. You are drafting a cornerback here. And out of Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid Man, I think Cooper DeJean is the better prospect. Cooper DeJean could honestly go a lot earlier, depending on just how a team feels about him. Because he's one of those guys you either love or hate him. And DeJean, I think he's a very solid prospect. I don't think he's the best corner in the class, but he's still great, and still great value getting him this late in the draft. So now, with the Buccaneers, you get Dominion. That's probably not how you pronounce it. Or just call him D-Rob. Robinson, I've seen him play. He's great, but his name's hard to pronounce. So I don't know how that will affect his draft stock. Never know with modern NFL, bro. Alright. So next up is the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that they're going to be here. And they're going to be drafting Byron Murphy. He's the best player available. And they need a lot. They have a lot of needs, but Byron Murphy will help them a lot. Their run defense was horrible, but hopefully he will add just an extra piece. Now you have the Buffalo Bills, and Gabe Davis is gone. Stephon Diggs is old and possibly washed, and Josh Allen loves to throw arm punts. So give him a guy who can run the field very fastly in Xavier Worthy. Now, Worthy basically cemented himself as a first-round pick with his absolute nuts 40-yard dash. And overall, I think he deserves that because he put in a lot of work. And now you have the Detroit Lions, and they're going to be taking Kool-Aid Man. They have a lot of needs, especially in the secondary, so I think, A, get the best corner that's available in Kool-Aid McKinstry, and McKinstry is a very interesting prospect as he has some big flaws, but hey, if they can iron them out, then he could definitely be a great cornerback for Detroit. Now, Baltimore, I think, definitely make an argument. They have a lot of needs despite being as good as they were last year, but I think that their biggest need is getting Lamar another weapon. Keon Coleman is a guy that I really like, and I think that he could end up being one of the best receivers of the game. So you let him hang out with Zay Flowers and have them duel out for number 1. And now, Niners, they have some offensive line needs, but honestly, I think that I have them trading back just a little bit with my Patriots. Patriots make sure that there ain't no way in hell that they don't get their guy. They're drafting Bo Nix. Kill me. All jokes aside, I think Patriots are going to end up leaving the draft with a quarterback. In the first round, they trade up, give up a little bit of capital, so they're able to draft Bo Nix. And now, next, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think, you have a lot of questions with what the hell is happening with Rashee Rice. I don't know if those questions will be answered by the time this video comes out, or by the time you guys watch this video. And even with Rashee Rice, I think you got to draft a wide receiver, and they draft Ladd McConkey. He's a great yards after the catch receiver and fits great with their elite screen game. So that's my official mock draft. And yes, you can come back and laugh at me when it's probably all wrong. There ain't no way the Patriots are trading down, but I kind of hope they do. Alright, everyone. Bye. I hope you guys have a great day. And once again, check out my Spotify. I'm not being annoying, right?